Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, where we carry the largest selection of wood flowers in the United States. Welcome back to another tutorial. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a don't have to really get into your head to make the project, and it's quick and easy, and you have a beautiful finished piece in probably under 30 minutes. I got so excited, I got tongue twisted. So let's jump into it. I'm super excited to show you the project. As many of you know, and probably just as many don't know, we carry these really fun chicken wire wreaths, both in a circle and in a square. We manufacture these ourselves because they were available to the general population years and years ago, and then they got discontinued. And yeah, we found someone to make them for us so that you can have them. But I think sometimes people get in their heads a little bit and they get a little nervous or a little scared. Also, there's lots of different ways to make with these, but I'm going to show you what I think is probably the easiest way to make a very full, lush, beautiful wreath without getting stuck in your head and like where everything should go. And there's no mess. You don't need any glue. Oh man, you guys are gonna love this. Let's jump into it, shall we? To make this the easiest possible wreath you've ever made, we are going back to the good old trusty bundle technique. Now, we've done it quite a few different tutorials using the bundle technique because it just works so well for this kind of stuff. What you're gonna need is fillers that you're in love with. I would say minimum 3 different fillers, maximum whatever you wanna do, but probably 5 to 6 is at the tip top of what you need. I do have a mixture of 2 different snowy kind of pine pieces that we do carry at ohyourlovely.com. I have this antique, Astilbe antique lilac, vintage lilac, Astilbe piece. So I have these all individually into stems. Then I have our blush eucalyptus, and then I have a past pine piece, but we have similar ones right now available at ohyourlovely.com, and we try to always have some sort of seasonal greenery available. So there's always gonna be some sort of pine at ohyourlovely.com. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 technically, then there's actually 2 different pines in here, so 5 fillers is what I have in front of me. We don't need a really long stem on any of these fillers, so we can be nice and short for a lot of these. Flowers, I definitely wanted to push the limits of quote unquote what is a traditional winter or holiday color story. So we're working with, I pulled some flowers from one of our dyed assortments. Let me grab you the name of that assortment. So the red and the blue flower came from an assortment called a Formal Affair. We also have some Mona Lisas with the black centers to make them look like anemones. We have an exclusive luxe style flower that was only available in our fall Celebrate the Season crate. We do not have that one available on the website. We do offer some exclusive flowers for certain things. You can also sometimes get exclusive flowers in our Stash Builders Plus subscription box. Sometimes we'll throw in some flowers in there that we will not be carrying on the website, but are absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and we just can't get enough to be able to offer it to everybody. That was a mouthful. We have some arties in there, and then we have a couple dyed brown flowers from another assortment that actually I think this might have been from a dyed subscription box assortment. So I like to grab lots of our different dyed assortment flowers, mix and match them to work with the story that I want to tell. And today's story is a formal affair of pinks, purples, blues, reds, and browns to go with our pine greenery. Do you see it? It's going to be a non-traditional winter wreath. I didn't want to go very Christmassy red and greens, but you can. This will work for that too. I like to just play with different color stories to see what comes from it. So there are all of the materials. You also are going to need, I like to use vinyl tape. You can find this on Amazon. We do have it linked to our Amazon store. We do get a very small commission if you order from our links, but you don't have to. The vinyl tape I like for tying off my bundles, and then you're gonna need some zip ties. That's where the nice, tidy, no mess application is gonna come from. Zip ties are gonna be our best friend for this particular tutorial. So let's start making bundles, and then I will show you how we get those on the wreath. While I make our first bundle, why don't we chat about my thought process as I'm going and making these bundles. I'll tell you, your thought process, just all thoughts out of your head. Just put on a movie, put on some music, put on a podcast, something you enjoy. Focus on that and let the rest just flow. I know I sound hippy dippy, but really honestly, for some of the bundles, I'll do everything. I'll put one of everything in my bundle. Heck, I might do two of something if I really like it and I want it to be a big part of it. But again, I'm not overthinking this. I'm just grabbing stuff and wrapping it together. So here's one of everything. We're same with the flowers. And the one thing, because we are not making something that's gonna be like a 360, this is gonna sit flat and flush to the wreath, okay? Flat and flush to the wreath. I'm gonna do what I consider, or what I like to call a flat back. So I'm not going to be putting anything on the back of this. I want that to sit nice and flush on my wreath, lay it down. So the flowers are gonna be on the other side. We're not gonna put flowers 360 on this. We're going to just focus on quote unquote what we are considering the front. And again, do not overthink this. Put as many or as few as you want. I am going with some bigger flowers. Now, the one thing, as we're talking about this bundle technique, I want you to visualize what we're gonna be doing is these bundles are gonna be stacking on top of each other and covering the bottom pinching off point. So then another will be going on there, and then some flowers in there, so on and so forth as we stack this upon each other. So you don't have to, I wouldn't go too far down with flowers because they're gonna get covered up. I also, when I know it's a front forward facing one, I pinch my wires a little bit so that my flowers are presenting forward instead of upward. And for this one, why not? We'll just do 3 flowers. Now I say, oh, I always put that one I think looks really pretty peeking up underneath there. So I'm not going to push it forward. Then with my vinyl tape, I have it setting aside. I put like a big strip of it so that I don't have to keep messing with it each time. We're going to go down where I was saying that pinchable spot. So where all of our greenery and stems, like where the stems start and the greenery ends. Sometimes though, I'm taping some of the greenery in there too. It just kind of depends on how it sits. We are going to tidy this up in a minute. We'll be snapping off more of the excess of longer wires because again, we're gonna be putting something right over the top of it. And I don't wanna have to try to cover up even more wires with that. So we don't need very long stems on these at all. So I'm gonna make the rest of my bundles. For this particular wreath, when we're doing with the chicken wire wreath, 5 bundles is kind of the sweet spot. If you're making really big, massive bundles, probably less. If you're making about this size bundle, 5 is good. You can make an extra one just in case if you want, or make one less and see what happens. Also, I'd like to keep a few pieces of greenery and flowers available so I can slide them in afterwards if I feel like there's some holes that are missing. Typically there's not, but every once in a while there's like a gaping hole somewhere and we pop a flower in it and all is right in the world. So let me go make all of my bundles and we will get them on the wreath next. Besides those 5 bundles, I do have just a couple more pieces of pine available, one of the blush eucalyptus, and then I did have to pull off the bottoms of this particular filler on each of my stems, so I have a whole bunch of these if we need to stem those up a bit individually. And then the flowers that I have left are one of the Lux flowers, a blue one, a brown one, and an anemone. We may or may not be putting those in. We're gonna just put all of the bundles together, see if there's like a hole or like if we have 2 colors next to each other but there's none of it throughout the rest, then maybe we'll slide in a flower. We're just gonna play. So let's get the bundles laid down and we'll see how they're looking. I have an idea of placement now. So what I want to do is trim off some of this excess stem. This one is going to be a pain in the butt because it's really, really thick. So I may struggle a little bit with that one. Even with my handy dandy clippers, as good as they are sometimes, you're going through multiple wires, so it takes a minute. Now what we're gonna do is grab our handy dandy zip ties and we're going to slide it through the chicken wire. And I like to tie them off near where the actual vinyl tape is. This is a pretty thick bundle stem. I probably could go and use a slightly longer zip tie to make it easier on myself, but where's the fun in that? I'd much rather get frustrated and flustered and all kinds of sweaty trying to get a zip tie to go around. One down, 4 more to go. Now to finish off the wreath, you could just end it there, I guess, if you wanted to, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip our last bundle in the opposite direction, and then we'll adjust all this stuff afterwards. There we go. So we're gonna just put that this direction, and then our greenery finishes it off that way, there, and then if we have a gap, which we probably will, we'll figure out a way to close that all up and get it nice and clean looking. But I think we might not have to. Normally I do, but we might not have to this time. We'll see. I think it's gonna work just as is, which is freaking lovely. We have now come to the portion of the tutorial where we take and we look, we see what we can see. Now, I will say when it comes to making wreaths, when you're looking top down, it looks different than when you bring it up and put it on a door. So make sure you're doing both, not just focusing on the top down, because it looks a little bit different top down. Certain things are gonna catch your eye more top down than they are when it's upright. So the one thing I know, or that I see, tuck some of that, is I only have 2 of that steely blue, and I feel like I do need to carry that throughout the piece. So I have 1 here and I have 1 there. What makes the most sense to me then is to have 1 more right there. So we're gonna slide that into the wreath, and I'm gonna do my best to try to connect it onto within the bundle, and I can see from the back just where it's going, so that I can kind of navigate so that I can be part of that bundle as well. You could add just a little tinge of glue in there as well if you want to make it a little bit more secure. But let's show you the back, because that was the part I was the most excited about, especially with the chicken wire wreaths. The back, people get a little bit nervous about that it's gonna be super, like not tidy, It's gonna look a little messy, especially if you're using hot glue and there's glue drips all over the place. So you've got the different connection points and that's it. And you could go in and even if you wanted to paint those, I'm not that concerned about it, but isn't that a fun pull together? Oh, I put that one in there, but I didn't put it in the bundle. We definitely want that in there. Hold on. I don't have any glue on the end of that one, so we're gonna add some glue to the end of the wire so the flower is nice and sturdy, and we're gonna do the same thing that I did with the blue flower, going from the back, watching in the back, and having my wire get into that bundle so there's some support there, which is no problem whatsoever. And then we're gonna adjust some of the greenery. There we go. So now we have got the 3 anemones, the 3 blues, the 3 reds. I'm not too worried that I only have 2 of the Luxe flowers. We didn't do the 3, but we did a mirror technique. So one's on this side, one's on the opposite side. So those get all pulled together. The little pops of the eucalyptus blush. We didn't even have to think about where to put those. Now, looking at this now, I think putting one in the inside, because right now they're all on the outside. Oh, there's one in the inside. Let's see if we can maybe bring one part of this over a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now we've got one poking on the inside, and I feel like if we have one more in the inner part of this to go around, that's gonna be ideal. So let's get that in there. And I can actually see my zip tie on this side, so I'm just gonna try to get it in there so that it's attached to something. And these have wires on them, so I'm gonna bend it to the flow that I want it. And I'm gonna also maybe tuck it up around some more greenery so it's not overly pronounced. So there's our little bit more of the blush. What a fun, it's still holiday based, but not like blaringly. This is a good, like, not just Christmas wreath, but a winter wreath. Oh, I'm loving it so much. And again, you can make one of these in like 30 minutes, especially if you're using our dyed flowers, so you don't have to dye any of the flowers. 1 stem of each of the greenery, so 5 stems of greenery if you wanted to, or you could use all of the same thing. You could use, or like 3, say, of one style greenery and 2 of different ones, but it's heavy on one particular greenery with just pops of other filler. But yeah, they're so fun to put together. And they really help you kind of push your comfort zone of color stories and the mixing and matching of fillers, because you don't have to think about it too hard. As long as your eyes look happy when you kind of bunch it all together before you make the piece, like something like this even. I was working on something and I was like, I don't know why this all works, but it works. So this color story would be a color story that would work, and I just bunched it all together, and then I could make little bundles from that. I love it so much. Let's get her on the door, shall we? She almost gives a fall vibe, but with the pine, that's what bumps it to the more winter kind of vibe. And with these, you could have it go whatever direction you want. I kind of like the more half moon kind of vibe, but, and if you're worried about hanging, you could also add a ribbon onto there. But you can also go this direction, and you can also absolutely go in this type of direction as well. But we'll go back to kind of a half moon vibe. If I can get it in there. There it is. And we'll just adjust as we walk away. Oh, love it. Love it, I love it, I love it. So dang cute! I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I love trying to figure out other ways to make things easy when it comes to crafting, help you get out of your head, especially if you're in a funk, and also things that are easy to kind of maybe crank out, especially if you're doing craft shows, things like that. These types of wreaths, you could crank out a ton of different kind of color stories, but not again, having to really overthink things. You can just kind of just get in the creative process and just make stuff, which sometimes that's all you want to do. This is a great way to do that. If you're interested in seeing the bundle technique being used in other ways, we also have a tutorial on it using for an arch, as well as what started it all, using it for bouquets. And if you're new to making bouquets, or you want to make a bouquet and you're really nervous about it, check out that bundle technique. I think it may give you that confidence that you need to make a couple bouquets, and then you can do your own thing. But the bundle technique, again, takes out a lot of the overthinking and just helps you create. So if you enjoyed the tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up, give us a comment down below, share the video. Heck, why don't you subscribe? We post videos pretty much once a week, typically on Wednesdays. If you'd like to subscribe, make sure to do that, and then ring that bell to be notified every time a new video goes up, which, like I said, was typically on Wednesday, to find out about the 150 style Sola wood flowers that are raw. And then we also have dyed flowers. And then we have tons of different options for greenery, as well as craft supplies. So those wreath forms, you can get them over at ohyourlovely.com, along with everything else I just said. But before you do, let me give you something. You can use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off regular priced items on one order. There you go. You're welcome. Think of it as a little pre-Christmas gift, if you will. All right, you guys, I will see you next week for another tutorial. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, and you, my friends, absolutely lovely. Bye, guys.